What's going on? We're back with another Feature Friday.
And Feature Friday Season 3 would not be possible without the support from the Supporting Black Canadian Communities Initiative administered by the Black Business Initiative.
Boom, tongue twister. Shout out BBI.
Shout out.
We got our good friend here, Augy Jones.
Yes, sir.
August.
I mean, maybe to start us off, your name. So I feel like a lot of people know you as Augy, but what's your name and the meaning? And
I'm born in 1968, and so at that time, my parents were afros and Afro picks and doing their thing. And so me and my two brothers got names of African. So Augusto means Black Panther. My other brother's named Shaka, after Shaka Zulu, who was a legendary leader in South Africa. And my other brother is named after Patrice Lumumba. People call him Patty, but he was named after Patrice Lumumba, who was the first president of the Congo. So we had those names, and then my sister's names were Casey and Tracy. But we had them fighting names, like I said. And it's funny because I went to Bloomfield School, and they kept butchering the name Augusto, so Augy came from that. I think Mom came one day and told the teacher, just call him Augy, like if you can't handle Augusto. So people don't really call me Augusto. My mom, whenever I heard my mom go, Augusto, I knew I was in trouble. So, but that's, I appreciate, I don't have a middle name. It's just Augusto Jones. And people call me Augy.
the name speaks
Yeah,
for
that's
itself.
tough. Black Panther. It means Black Panther?
It does.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Wow.
First Black Panther, 68.
Yeah, 68.
I love it.
So maybe dive into like those early days when, they couldn't pronounce your name at school.
Yeah. Shout out to Bloomfield School. I mean, I grew up on Windsor Street and Almond Street right by the Halifax Forum. And so we would walk down. I don't know if people remember Acadian Lines. Bus terminal used to be across from Bloomfield. So we would walk down Almond Street and go to Bloomfield. So I was at Bloomfield from primary to grade 6. And that's with like Ray Downey, Billy Downey, Donna Mendez, Jerry Mendez, Eric. We had a community of people that were at Bloomfield.
And Bloomfield's that building that was on like Roby?
Yeah. Yeah, Roby and Almond, right, that they just knocked down. And Bloomfield was, it was a school basically had a large Black population. It's in similar to St. Pat's Alexandra. So you had St. Pat's Alexandra, and then a little bit further from it was Bloomfield. So I started school there. Then I remember, grade 6, they had like this intelligence test that they gave to all the kids in the city. And I didn't even take it serious. I just like, man, whatever. I'm at Bloomfield. I'm just
What grade were you in?
to get grade 6. And so I did well on it and went to what they called then the extended achievement class. So the year before me, Donnie McLean, who was my best, he's the head of the police department now, but he was my best guy, my best friend, because he played at the Y. And then Wade Smith, who's, my guy too, God rest Wade. They were ahead of me in extended achievement. So that now we know all kinds of Black kids go to Oxford, but when we were going, there wasn't that many. So in my class, it was me and Quinta Adams.
Oh, wow.
Shout out Quinta. My guidance counselor at Dow.
Yeah, man. That's my first. So Quinta and I have been in the same class since grade 7. And there was only 2 Black people in the class.
And this is at Oxford?
This is at Oxford.
Wow.
But we were in an extended achievement class, which was enriched. And what's interesting, I do want to tell people, because, you want to make sure people get something out of the podcast, is that my brother Patty stayed at Bloomfield. And this is a true story. And he got this trophy for academic achievement. And it goes to show you when we talk about education around the level of education. So he didn't work as hard, and he was smart enough to get marks, but he got a trophy in grade 9, graduated from Bloomfield. Meanwhile, I go to Oxford, and my marks drop. Like my grade point average drops. And I end up going to Queen Elizabeth same year that my brother goes, because we're basically the same age. And they gave Patty a trophy, but he didn't have the foundation and couldn't handle grade 10. Like, go just show you, it's the curriculum. It's not your grade point average. Yeah. And then I went, and because of what I was doing at Oxford with my 70s, I went to QEH. I had 90s in grade 9. Like, I was like, we were doing stuff at QE that I did in grade 8. Like, but it was a level of math and literature and science that we were doing in this extended achievement class. Yeah. So it was, we had about 28 kids from around Halifax, and there's some of them are still my friends. But again, in that class was me and Quinta Adams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out Quinta. We got to get you on here.
Yeah, facts.
So then high school. So you went from elementary, junior high.
Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, the QEH Lions. And, at the time, it was this deal where, because the community YMCA was the best basketball program in the country. Like, really, we would go to Ontario and wipe them out. Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was going to, if we went to the States, we would, we went to New York City and stuff like that. But Community Y was at the time, and everyone played ball. Jason Wilson, Alonzo Wright, Daryl Johnson, Tyron Carvey, Quenta, the girls teams. So many that at the Y, you had every division, you had A team, B team, C team, and a D team.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of basketball.
Times 12. Like, so you think about that's in one, so everybody was at the Y.
So was this like the whole Halifax at the Y, or was it just certain demographic?
No, it was mainly Gottingen Street. I mean, my family, we would come from Windsor Street, but at that time it was people that lived in the square, but also Maynard Street, Creighton, like Garish, all those streets were black families.
Yep.
Right? So I remember the Gannons lived right up from the Y, and we used to, when we were older, like 15, 16, we just go up to Mr. Gannon. He'd give us the key to the Y. We go open up the door and play. We have 14 guys that play.
You never see nothing like that now.
No.
You can barely get into North Preston Hall.
It was on that level, though. It was a real community vibe.
Yeah.
And also they had like leadership stuff for us. Like the Community Y was something. So when we came to QE, all those years that we were winning provincial championships, it was the black community. It was... It was, guys that we had this deal where Bev Greenlaw, who just got into the Hall of Fame, Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame, married to Sylvia Hamilton. Yeah. Bev was coaching at the Y. And so people would skip grade 10 and play for Bev and then only play QEH grade 11 and 12. So that grade 10 year was a Community Y year. We were all at QEH, but none of us. It's funny because there's a couple guys that didn't follow the rules and jumped on the team in grade 10. Like, because there's about 5 of us that didn't play. Yeah. Then in grade 11, it was, now we had to take their spot again. So the Y was connected to QEH, and it was a good school. I think that for me, and I would like to really frame this around me learning at home. And I want to put this out to people because, I'm a longtime educator, is that we put too much into allowing the schools to bring up our kids. And Joan and Rocky were my first teachers. And when I left home, whether I was going to Bloomfield or Oxford or QEH, man, I was confident in myself. Because I learned to read from reading Ebony Magazine and Jet Magazine and all of our, we had bookshelves full of black writers. And so I learned literacy at home. At home, yeah. So then when I left the house, and I use an analogy like a cell phone analogy, I was on 4 bars. Like, you called the N-word, anything came bounce off of me. I was president of student council at Oxford. I was president of student council at QEH because I'm leaving the house thinking I can do anything because that's what my parents told me, right? And so that education came home, but it allowed me there was no teacher that could thwart me or make me or throw me off because I had confidence from home.
So the stuff wasn't inherently in you. It was taught at home. So that was one of the things I wanted to get into is where did your educational skill set come from in terms of you being an overachiever in school, and then you just said that started.
Well, a lot of it is confidence, Trev. To be honest, man, because we got really smart kids, but when you have stereotypes and you look at media, and this is before social media, just look at media. We were always shucking and jiving and pimps and we were always these kind of not really intelligent people, especially
how we're presented.
How we're presented. So if you don't, as parents, counteract that. Yeah. Right? So my parents were counteracting it. Because when we lived in Windsor Street, that was a place where Harry Belafonte and, political leaders, people came to our house. That was a meeting space. And so I learned a lot of confidence because I saw big, intelligent people, professors, just coming and talking to my dad and mom. And my mom was really intelligent, and you saw her handle herself. So I started to learn, you don't really need a PhD. You don't really need any time. You just need being smart. Wasn't about school. That if I can repeat that, it's in you because that's why I was successful at school. I think if you have a love for learning. We often think school is the only education, but that's such a narrow view of it because you should be educated in your community. You should be educated in your home. not only educated about your culture, but math and science and how to cook. The boys out there, how to cook. The girls out there, how to build things and be around the house. That's all a full holistic education. Yeah. And I think right now we're really caught up in, man, it's up to the school system to do it. And the school, no, man, do not leave it.
It's never been up to the school systems. Like anyone that needs to hear it, the school system, they're like, oh, it's broken. It's never been made for you to go and be this massively successful person. Like it's on the home. It's on us to teach our kids like financial literacy.
Of course.
Our history.
Yes.
Like, do you think they taught us our history in school? No.
Well, no, and also it's really weird to ask someone else in a different culture to teach you your culture. So, for example, Greek people don't do that. Lebanese community doesn't do that. Like the Jewish community doesn't do that. Like really, but we expect that we're gonna get white teachers to bring up our kids.
To care enough, to learn enough, to teach us enough.
And that's asking too much, to be honest, because I'm not throwing them under the bus. I would just say, because I had a foundation from home, then the teachers only had to teach curriculum. It wasn't about trying to self-actualize me as a black kid, because I was already self-actualized. What I needed to do was go to school and get the curriculum. And that's what they did for me. I think we now, in 2020, in the 2020s, 2026, whatever, we're really putting a lot on the school system, and they're not able to handle that. The Black Report is 1994. So the Black Learners Advisory Council is like a 3-volume classic piece of research in Canada. Everything's in it. But it's hard when we were trying to get other people to do it for us. So we need to teach. So I would say to all the families out there, all the parents out there, you are your child's first teacher. And you can't, it's funny, we often say, oh, they're on the tablet all the time, or they're on the video games while you're on your phone.
Yeah, you didn't
They learn behavior. And I feel like we have to take the responsibility, because like that's one of the motivating things for me is like when I'm talking to a kid and trying to instill in them, like, okay, you got to learn for yourself. Like school's where you go and you, like you say, you're getting that curriculum. But if you really want to be successful, you got to learn on your own. You got to do the things that maybe you're passionate about, dive deeper into it, and get that information, because the world's not going to give you success. It ain't going to follow the sky, you know?
And the learning thing, and you guys are both learners. You're both post-secondary learners. I think we often, I'm passionate about that we don't take the P to 12 college, university thing as education, because the other thing is street smarts is street smarts, right? And so there's people that we look at the hip hop industry, or we look at athletes. There's a lot of people that were who are of African descent who were street smart, who turned that into business smart. So when we talk about education, knowing how to roll is also an education. And so we need to let our kids know and our parents know that from the time our kids wake up in the morning until they go to bed, there's all kinds of education happening when you're getting on the bus, off the bus, watching your uncle, watching things get built in the house. All these things, kids should be learning about them, because they're all things that you're going to need later on. So we need to take a holistic kind of understanding, and that's what they say, it takes a village, right? It takes a village, because you got to go to the rec center, you got to go to the library, you got to go to aunties, you got to help your uncle out back shovel or chop wood, or do all. That's all education and learning. And the last thing I say, because I'm a baller, is like you got a lot of kids now that think they know things because they play 2K, right? And really, but they don't. That's not a learner, right? Like, are you going to practice? Are you at 14, 15, 13 because you're leading your team in score because you're the only one that can make right-hand layups? Like, that doesn't make you a ball player. It's a progression of how much you have to learn about the game. So all that means is the foundation of lifelong learning is not just school. It's everything, man. It's learning how to be a dad. It's learning how to be a mom. It's learning how to drive a car. It's learning how to play basketball. If you're a lifelong learner, it means you're open to someone telling you something and you learning it. But we now have a generation that think once you leave school, that's the only place that learning's going on. And outside of that, it's just play. But it's not, though. It's every minute of the day is a learning situation.
I'm so glad you're emphasizing that too, because I agree in terms of learning experience, being a learning, even for myself with basketball and the different experiences that I continue to do as well, learning so many different things. And I'm glad you mentioned the parenthood and kind of like that relationship as well. Because I think a big thing with that is being present. Like you mentioned with the iPad and stuff like that. It's like, okay, we might be saying they're on the iPads, but okay, let's try something else. Let's be present. Let's do something else. Do something else together. Go hoop. Go watch this. Go do that. Go learn. So I agree. I think that and that needs to be emphasized a lot more. I feel like I can't speak for the entire generation right now, but I do feel like it's leaning towards that education and kind of not really almost neglecting, I guess, some of the other areas and value in education. So.
And you're making a really good point, and don't get me wrong. I watch you both come up.
Oh yeah.
And you're one of the original prep school, like really.
Ontario,
man. Like you did it. Like you went away and you played, and then you came back and highly touted. And I think that when I think about what we're trying to tell kids and tell parents, it's funny how we always blame the youths. Like we blame them like it's only them. We got to take some responsibility. If you notice, the theme of me today is parents need to take more responsibility for education. Parents need to take their kids outside. Like you're saying that they're up in their room, so go take them biking, go take them canoeing, like, which is different in our generation. Because my parents and the parents in our generation, we didn't want to stay inside because there was nothing in our room to stay inside for. We wanted to get outside. So our parents never really monitored us outside. And if you remember, like you could go play, and as long as you were in earshot, your mom could yell or whatever, you were fine. They never worried about us. Now this is a different generation, and we have a lot of fear around where our kids are and those type of things. And so it is up to parents, more than my parents, to actually stop what they're doing and spend time with your children and take them places. Because no matter what, technology can't override a walk on the waterfront or going to Point Pleasant Park or going to the Dingle or Peggy's Cove, or that will still amaze your teenager. If you organize it and you do it. If you just sit back and say, oh, they're not doing anything, that doesn't work anymore because it's not 1985.
And oftentimes it's a learned behavior. Like you might have a parent that they might sit in their phone all day, so then the kid's going to sit on their iPad all day versus like getting out in the universe and connecting with people or doing something new. And it doesn't have to, because people are like, oh, everything costs money to do something, but it's like walking down the street don't cost money.
That's free.
Yeah.
And we're in Nova Scotia where we don't live in Toronto and Montreal. So there are all kinds of spots. I think about it. You got the Commons, right? You got Citadel Hill. You got Point Pleasant Park. You got public gardens. And the fun thing is, I think about community Y. It's so funny. Like, and I love Black people, man. Like when we think about summer camp, we went to the most free things ever. Like, and we were all excited about it. We're going to the Dingle. That was just bus fare. Like, we didn't, like, we're going to Point Pleasant Park. Like, but we were all excited about it. But it was the most freeness ever. Like, we didn't pay for nothing. Those things are still free. So that was 1976. Now in 2026, it's still free to go to Point Pleasant Park. It's still free to go to public gardens. It's still free to do those things. But as parents, I think we have to take some responsibility for the generation.
Yeah, and even if you think about like a father or a mother, it's like if you get that habit situated, then that kid, like say for example, if I got 2 kids and it's like, oh, we go to the public gardens every couple of weeks, then that habit's situated. And then 100%. When those kids grow up, they'll be like, oh, this is my Trevor's dead and gone, but like this is what my dad used to take us to do, and now we're gonna do it as like a tradition. But those like taking the time to literally smell the flowers, you know,
and you're modeling behavior for your kids. I remember someone said something to me. This would have been about 10 years ago. We were just talking about the changing demographic of Goddison Street. So I remember in the 80s that Goddison Street was the bomb. Like it had a club, it had the Derby, it had 2 of the best cinemas were on Goddison Street. Wow. There was a grocery store. My mom used to drop me at the North Branch Library and go shopping, like for groceries, everything like that. What Goddison Street was
used to be a place to go.
Listen, it was one of the baddest streets. Like it was a commercial street. So now when we think about the gentrification of that area, someone said to me that you have kids in Uniacke Square that never been to Spring Garden Road.
Wow.
Like really, like. So digest that for a minute. So when you are taking them to these places, it seems so simple, but you're also showing them that they belong here too, and that these spaces in Halifax are for our kids too.
Yeah, because it takes some getting comfortable.
Thank you.
Like even when you think about like coming in town from up home, it takes getting comfortable in town, like going to these places on the bus, and then you hang around them for a bit. I mean, when we were younger, we were bad, so like we get in trouble, but it's getting used to being around. Like you said, like your first time going to Spring Garden, you're just like, oh my gosh, it's so busy, it's so da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
But it's the same exact feeling that you get when you go to Toronto. It's fast-paced, it's boom, boom, boom.
Thank you.
So you got to get exposed to it in order to feel like you belong there, in order to feel like you know what I mean?
And that's and also that's my same pitch as a holistic view of education. So when you take your kids' place, you're educating them around the ability to take the bus and that you don't always have to stay home. That we also have the right as tax-paying citizens to be everywhere everyone else is. Yeah. And so if you don't model that, and then you wonder why at 17, 18, 19, especially our males, feel isolated in what is their space and what's not their space. So Neptune Theater has to be their space, right? Barrington has to be their space. Yeah.
And you never know what you like. Like, even if you think about it, like, oh, I'm not into plays or I'm not into this. But, like, sometimes we don't even get exposed to going to Neptune, only times when we go on, like, field trip at school. But, like, for me, I went a few times because friends that were doing shows or people were like, oh, let's go to the show because my friend's doing this show. And then you go there and you're like, oh, I don't really want to go, but then you go and you're like, oh, that was better than going to the movies. That was better than doing a lot of other stuff. Yeah. And you're just like, wow, like that's art. That's like in your face action. That's you know what I mean?
And Black youth, we are artistic. Like if you think about the plays, and so I went and saw Renee and Micah, and of course you go and you see people you know who are in plays. But if you think worldwide, we always around plays. We've been that. So you're also opening your children to the possibilities that we can play hockey. We can do more than basketball. Yeah. We can sing. We can also be playwrights, and we can be act. But if you don't expose, it's exposure. Exposure is education at the same time, and so you want to make sure that you do that. And the cool thing is, as a parent, and you brought this up, Trev, just now, is that if you do it enough, after a while they take that, and now they fly on their own, because they say the two things that you should leave with your children are roots and wings. Roots and wings. They know where they come from, but they ain't staying home their whole life because they're not afraid you expose them to spread their wings and go places, right? But you always want to also give them the root thing of you're from North Preston and be proud of that. You're from Weymouth Falls, be proud of that. You're from the pubs, be proud of that. That's your roots. This is our family, be proud of that.
I think it's important that you touched on that is like where we're from doesn't necessarily, like we don't have to identify with like the negative connotations that the people put on our communities. Like when you think about like pimps or selling drugs or like all kinds of bad stuff that they might put on our communities in the news and the media, but then we often internalize it with like that's who we are, our identity. Yes, and I feel like it's important in order to break outside of that box, you got to believe that you're more than what they tell you are. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of folks, they just conform to like, oh, they think I'm like when I go to the store, they're going to just assume I'm stealing or they're going to think I'm this and that. And it's like, we got to, like you said, when you got the confidence and you know, like, I know I'm in the store and I'm not stealing. Yeah. Then I know I'm in the store, I ain't stealing. I don't got to feel like they watching me. I don't even, if you're watching me, that's an issue. Your business. That ain't an issue, you know?
You're right, though. Yeah. And I think, too, it's let's make the narrative our narrative. People outside of North Preston don't get to decide how it is. It's people in there. So, and also when you think about it, there's way more positive than negative. Yeah. So what it is sometimes when there's that fear, I remember people recently wouldn't want to bring their teams, their M-Bands teams, to Community Y because it's off of Gottingen. Man, come off it.
You said recently?
Yeah,
and then that's the reverse thing where they got to come and get exposed and learn, and then they realize like, oh, you guys are so nice. That's what and
we had nothing to fear on Gottingen Street. Yeah. So I'd rather that, and that narrative. So we want to control the narrative of our communities are beautiful places. Yeah. And we are, as people of African descent, we're very loving, man. We're very loving. It's funny because the stereotypes are the opposite of who we are, you know.
Yes, 100%. But them stereotypes try to conform us or make us the worst person. But even when we were younger, when I used to talk to girls in town, it's like, I'm from Coal Harbor. And it's like, because you're telling me from North Preston, it's like their parents already told them don't talk to no guys from North Preston. Yeah. So then you already lose the chance. Yeah. So if you say like I'm from Coal Harbor, then she get to know you, and then it's like, no, I'm actually from up home.
And but I have to tell you that later.
Yeah. So it's like, but then now I feel like it took us time for us, like even I'm talking for my generation. Sorry if I'm talking for you, but like we got older and then we realized like we are proud of where we come from, but it takes us time to actually be like, to really know who we are and to really know what like the skills, the coolness, and the the like how far we came to be like, okay, I'm standing on this now. Like even for me, it's like, okay, I'm Trevor Silver. I'm from North Preston. I got a clothing company called Trev Clothing, and to me, North Preston, saying I'm from North Preston, it adds value to my journey. It doesn't take away. It doesn't be like, oh, that brand's from North Preston. It might make me lose a few sales from a few different people, but like to me, it's like I'm putting on for my community, and those people that do support it, they're putting on for my community, even if they ain't from my community.
Well,
because
and look at the growth of hip hop music in a sense. That's coming from the ghettos of New York and LA and those type of things, and yet they rep their area. And also it can be an and conversation, man. We all got friends that do criminal activity like that, and white guys do too, right? We don't. That's not. They're still part of the community. Like, but again, they're not all the community. So we're not cutting out those people because often those people are family, friends, cousins, all that. I don't judge nobody, but I do know that, and I learned this from my parents. It's a mindset. Like, so my mindset was never to feel bad about being black. And you have to really kind of, like, that may seem small, but you have to really I'd have to say women have to get a mindset that I'm a female, but I can also do it. Because without that mindset, then the stereotypes overwhelm you. And you end up being your lesser self because of those stereotypes. So in order to bash stereotypes, you got to be really proud that you're from East Preston. You got to be really proud that you're from Upper Hammonds Plains. Like, no matter what people say, because that's how I was. Like, people may call me cocky or whatever when I was young. I wasn't that. They just weren't ready for Joan and Rocky's children because I was coming out, really though, I was coming out with, like, you couldn't tell me nothing. That I knew black was beautiful. I knew black was intelligent. I knew all that from
and this
home.
started at home. Yeah, like you
at
said,
home.
Started
So
at
when
home.
I left home, you couldn't, man... Nothing, all the racial slurs, all that was bing, bing, bing. I wasn't even paying no attention.
But it's crazy how your confidence made them uncomfortable. Your confidence in your blackness was taken as an arrogance rather than you being confident in who you are, which is crazy. Yeah, crazy.
It's still like that.
Yeah.
Because look at, I'll speak to you as a strong females. Look how quickly they marginalize women who are strong and call them the B word or she's that, when really I'm just trying to exert that same equity confidence, right? And so the other thing is, as I got older and I went to St. Evax and, I got my teacher's degree, I lived in the Caribbean for 10 years.
Oh.
Okay.
So I taught in Guyana for a year. I taught in St. Lucia for 4 years, played on the St. Lucia national team. I taught in Kingston, Jamaica for a year, and I taught in the Bahamas for 4 years.
Oh, well, so you went and got the experience
Yeah, but I was looking for all black countries.
Wow.
I don't have no Caribbean ancestry. So when I taught 1 year at QEH, and there was I just filled in for a teacher. This would have been 1992. Man, I packed my bag and went to St. Lucia. And I was in St. Lucia for 4 years, and you turn on the TV, black news, black criminals, black judges, black business people.
Black everything.
Black everything. Everything. And I say this, my first all-black dream, I was 22 years old. Just think about that for a second. My first dream that white people weren't in.
I don't mean to laugh, but that's crazy.
No, it is.
I was 22 years old because after a while, when I was immersed in, I'm telling you guys, like when I went to school, the principal was black, teachers were black, the kids were black, the parents were like, everything was.
Yeah.
Everything was. So whether it's up, down, police, criminals, politicians, whatever, everybody was. And so there's, again, being a 2% minority, you have to really think about how that weighs on you that when you turn on the TV. Yes. So
every
that's why
commercial, every store you go to, anywhere you go, you only see black people here because you see black people when you see them. It's like you're 90% of them in the store is white. So when you do see a black person, you might do a little nod. And other people, they might look at you. You might even be smiling. They look away because you're black or whatever.
And I'll give you another vibe. So I was a teacher, right? When I'm a teacher in Halifax, every day, all day, racism's on the periphery. When I'm in the Caribbean, it's not ever an issue. It don't even come up. Now, there's classism that you're from a certain area, right? There's colorism, light skin, dark skin. But as far as racism, cause I was in heaven that I didn't have to deal with that because that's my top priority here. It's non-existent there. So imagine that if I was teaching English, I just had to teach English. I never had to worry about the vibes that we are constantly swimming in as a 2% minority. So I went to those times when I was in the Caribbean. I did it because I can't tell you how it helped my wellness on levels.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Levels of, and just being comfortable in spaces. So when I went in the store, you can't follow me. Everyone, how you follow me? Like, so you couldn't tell. So the thing around, you may call it small, but blending into the crowd, as long as I didn't open my Canadian mouth and see the accent, no one bothered with me. I just went and did my thing. Even in Jamaica, same thing. I was staying out at dance halls, coming home late. But as long as I didn't say nothing, and I wasn't a really affluent person. I was just a teacher, but I was able to have that freedom. And so it's heavy when you're in that all day, every day, when you're in that 2% minority and we're dealing with that. There's a heaviness to it that you don't realize it affects you until you're not in it. And not on vacation, living.
And do you find when you're living in it, it's kind of like you're on vacation because you don't have that weight on your shoulders?
It is. It's funny. You start to concentrate on different stuff, man. Like I remember, so I worked from Monday to Friday, and I would, on the weekends, put on a backpack and have a bottle of wine in there and a wine opener and a little poetry book and might have a little split or so, whatever, with me. And I would just go look for a beach and just chill. Like, it wasn't even a tourist beach. I would just go to whether it was St. Lucian's, let me know where it was or whatever. So I was free to, when you don't have to deal with the isms, you end up having all this free time for yourself, for your own self-development. Like, because you're looking and saying, well, who do I got to fight next? And then when you don't have to fight anyone, you're like,
defend yourself from.
Now I can just, wow, you mean I can really just relax? So I would do that, man. I spent so much time, and it's funny because from 1992 to like 2002, I was really into self-awareness. I was reading about Buddhism. Obviously, Rastafarianism had an effect on me, and Taoism. I was reading, I was writing, I was doing everything until I came back home again. And then the next 15 years, 20 years was in the fight again. And I remember I went to a counselor. I have my counselor, it's a black woman, and she said, like part of it is you got to get in that learning stage again. Like, because that learning stage was like full of excitement and self-discovery and self-love. And then when you come and you're not doing that, you don't know how much the daily grind can get to you, that you're always got something to put out, a fire to put out and here and there. And so that's, what I'm trying to do now is that even within being in a Nova Scotia setting or a Canadian setting, how can I get that peace of mind? It's tough. I mean, I just have to keep vacationing in black spaces is it. And again, people don't have to take offense to that, because when white people want to go to Ireland or people from Italy want to go to Italy, like it's the same thing, like where you feel comfortable, right? Where you were. So that for us, this is when you're not in a majority situation. I call it majority privilege. When you're in a majority situation, man, there's a lot of privileges. Like, we don't have to talk to kids from Jamaica about, do you see yourself being a teacher? They're like, yeah, all my teachers are like, that thing around you can't be it until you see it. That's all you see. So we don't have to talk to that about kids, but here you don't see it. So how can you be it? So that's why we have all these organizations and conversations around supplementing the fact that you're a 2% minority.
And it's something that you have to instill in the youth, because like some of these kids, no one's asking them like, what are you doing when you're done school? And if you don't show them like, okay, this is a black entrepreneur, or this is a black, like Neville. He runs a restaurant.
Of course.
Then they could see themselves owning a restaurant. Of course. Versus like, if you don't see your people doing this stuff, like if we didn't see Lindell make it to the NBA, it's like, oh, can we make it to the NBA? Now like that ceiling is broken, and it's like these young kids can work harder and can push, and they can know. Like if for example, like if you don't know you can do something, and if you don't know, if you don't think, then you're not gonna try. Because even for me, like I wasn't gonna try to become a lawyer because I didn't think I could do it. But then something gave me that fire to be like, oh, go and do it. And then when I realized I could do it, I didn't even want to do it.
Well, and the thing that's funny, I mean, you talk about that, the fire was Augy Jones. Like when he walks in the room now, as you come up, you're like, dang, that's, I think really, so for Ali and Trev, both of you, you're leaders in this vibe too. Know that, because from where you are right now, there is a sense of you being role models and talking to youth about their possibilities, because people look up to you and people look up to you. And I think that's what it is. It's not an ego thing. It's that when you spread your wings and you end up doing things, because that's why we got to pull our people along, right? Like, and pull them up. And so me, I try never to be on, because my resume is long and I did lots of stuff, but I don't talk about that. My main thing is to talk to the youth and see me and say, you can do it, brother, because I did it. I did it. And all of us now, I'm proud of the leaders that we have, because I think we have numerous leaders now from the Black community, more than, because before it was only 2 or 3 people that, oh, you're the lead. Now there's a lot, but we have to go back and save our kids. We have to save
That's
them.
probably one of my biggest motivators, is me being the best version of myself, so that when I am talking to a youth, or they are seeing me, they're seeing me in my best light, so then they can be inspired. And like when I give them advice, they'll more likely take it versus not. Because like when I was younger, it's like I'm taking advice from the guy that I think is cool versus the guy that I think is not cool. So I got to be the cool guy so that the kids can take my advice when I give it to them. And I think it's a lot of it is having the time and not being so rushed, that when you do get a chance to have a teachable moment with a youth, you can give them that teachable moment. And you can't teach them if you don't listen to them. So if you don't take the time to give them your ear and to ask them like what they up to or what they trying to do, then you can't, you know what I mean, give your input on it.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
And I think too, when you look at youth, oftentimes, and it's part of it, that you want to be the bad boy, you want to be the bad girl, like that look, but it's also succumbing to stereotypes. So you end up thinking the most comfortable is, let me be, instead of me being my 10 out of 10, let me just be 2 out of 10, and that seems safe. And so the people that are being more than the 2 out of 10, you have to model that, because it gives kids courage to go into those spaces and say, Kirk Johnson did it. You know, Karen Hudson did it. Aaliyah did it. Trevor did it.
And the other thing is, like, it's way easier to be yourself and to be the best you could be than to try to be into the stereotype. To try to be the, oh, I'm hard and I'm this gangster person, or I'm this thing that the because the media, the music, everything basically says like, this is the cool thing to be. This is who you should be. But then they don't realize how easy it is to just be yourself.
And that's a foundation too, though, from within the household as well, to make you feel instilled in being yourself and stuff like that too. Another thing I wanted to add though was exposure to different opportunities. Like when you guys were mentioning that, I'm thinking about like non-traditional spaces too. Like you were saying, like, I don't know, kayaking, something random, but just showing and exposing our community. Because when Black people touch something, conquer. We will conquer whatever space that is. I don't care if it's entertainment. I don't care if it's business. Like there's just certain things, but if we're not exposed to it,
of course,
then we don't have the opportunity to thrive in that space.
There's a Black business that's somewhere around here locally. It's called like Lunar Adventures. And they do like paddle boats and kayaking and all that stuff. I haven't done kayaking before, but like people been always telling me to check it out.
And surfing and all that. And to Aaliyah's point, I think that, you know, it's almost, that's funny. It's a comfortable thing. Like we limit ourselves partly from stereotyping of what we think we can do. Any other person would say, of course I can kayak. Of course I can do this and do that. So we have to also, I think, not only instill that, but I would also say to parents, if you ever get a chance to go on vacation, try to bring your kids to those spaces that I talked about, or if we have youth groups, right? Do those exchanges where, because I was teaching at Halifax West, and myself and Malik Adams, for 2 years in a row, we took students from Halifax West on March break. We took them to St. Lucia, and we did exchange with the school that I used to teach at. And those kids are still, now they're men and women, but they still remember that
reaping
experience.
the benefits.
Yeah. When I was teaching, I was a professor at the School of Education at St. FX, and they have to do like a 6-week practicum at the end of the year. So I go to school of St. FX and say, so if they do the 6 weeks, can I go to the Bahamas and do the 6 weeks? They said yes. 2 years in a row, I took 14 students and then 16 BED students to do their practicum in Nassau, Bahamas.
Oh, wow.
And we all stayed in a villa with a pool. And during the day, they went to I didn't go to private schools, international schools. They went to Black schools, and the funny thing is, every night they come home from school, everyone would sit around the pool and kind of debrief, and it went from like them talking about feeling uncomfortable in a sea of Blackness at first, but then as it got to like the 4th week, they're going to church, and they now see that in amongst the sea of Black students, some of them are smart, some of them are not. Some of them are rich, some of them are not. Like, so it was blurry at first, and then it became clearer. And as they built relationships, it became clear and clear. And now they got colleagues that are inviting them out for drinks and dinner, and like, so it became people. But when they first got there to be in that minority situation, they were overwhelmed by that. And even those teachers who are now teachers all over HRM, they still hit me up.
Because those weren't all black students that you were taking down there.
They were all white.
So they became the flip script.
Yeah.
They was the minority.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Wow. So they got a taste of what we taste on a day-to-day.
Yeah, and it was uncomfortable at first. One person went home. I remember after 2 years, one person couldn't handle it, and she got back on the plane. But I do think the majority of them felt, especially if you could last, by the time it got to the 6th week, and it got them ready to actually come and teach here in that sense of knowing what it is to be in a minority situation. Yeah. They needed that. And that's why we say education is more than curriculum. Like there was something that was going on that had nothing to do with their BED. It was this, can you let go of stereotypes and fears and see these students and the other teachers and their parents as real people? Even though, it took weeks, but once it did dissipate, man.
That probably changed their whole outlook on life.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting them in a different situation, like you said, to be the minority and learn from experience, rather than, like you said, the BED and stuff. Like you're actually there, living it, and experiencing it, and then bringing that back home. Speaking of bringing back home, so you did the teaching for 10 years in the Caribbean, and then you came back home, and you mentioned the difficulties with that transition back. So maybe just expanding more on that and how you were able to kind of navigate coming from the Bahamas and where was it, St. Lucia and all these places, and coming back home and trying to transfer stuff that you've taken from there to here.
It's a great question. I think at that point I'm a little bit older, and I think that's when I started to. It was leadership positions then. So whether I was coaching ex-women basketball, whether I was at the Department of Ed, when I was even when I was a teacher, I taught at Dartmouth High, Cole Harbor. Citadel.
Man got the longest resume to go.
But I did though. Enough students would say Mr. Jones taught me because I did that. But I think the way I dealt with it was, I just got to the leadership thing. I think there was detrimental to my own wellness because you then have to advocate and be in this conversation around inequity and mistreatment and prejudice. That's a tough space to be in. A lot of times, but I took that on, and I'm glad I did. But I must say that I lost some of my love of life because when I was in the Caribbean, it was free and it was open. Like I felt the on every day. I woke up and went, okay, all right. And then when I woke up here, you really have to do work, man, to get in that situation because you're going to school where you see African Nova Scotian kids and kids of African ancestry, because your teacher colleagues. So you're watching them going, you really are discriminating here. Like I can see it. And so I never had to deal with that. So I think being a leader in that and going, and a lot of times people wouldn't know this. And I know some people know what I do, some people don't know what I do, but I'm an expert at behind the scenes. So when I'm sitting in committee meetings and I'm in these big high-powered jobs, I'll get fired. Because integrity is what you do when no one's looking. So when I'm in these rooms, I have to advocate because God gave me the seat as director of African Canadian Services branch or executive director of ANSA. So I am not getting in that seat to sell my community out. I'm not. So I'm going to say in meetings, whether it's a virtual meeting, whatever, my black hand is up. And I'm saying, well, no, in the most professional, articulate way, I have to give the reasons why you may want to rethink that because I have to be the voice in this meeting of 30,000 black people. Matter of fact, I'm a voice of all students, not even students of color. So I think I did a lot of more work when I got back behind the scenes with the inclusive education policy, with with pre-service teachers, with community. I'm coaching at the Community Y. I coached U12, U14. I did all of those things as a way to almost balance out that I was back home, right? And being back home, I mean, even think about it socially. I really appreciated, I remember in Jamaica on a Friday, and I lived in Portmore. And so as far as sound systems and music, you could walk 2 blocks and there's a DJ playing right? Reggae music. And whenever there's a DJ, there's someone selling Guinness. Whenever there's someone selling Guinness, there's someone selling food. And then you vibes there for a minute, and then, okay, I'm out. And you go 2 more blocks, same thing.
Jamaican vibes.
Yeah, like you're just moving. And for me, that is not the same as going to the Split Crow or going to the Dome or going to. Yeah. So I don't think sometimes people realize that being here is not the most comfortable, which is why we do house parties and new things like that, because there's very little, and especially with the demise of Goddard Street. Because I would say when I was in my 20s, we met at the Derby. So on a Friday, we would finish work, and all of us would go to the Derby, have a couple of drinks, have whatever, food. But our uncles are in there, our aunts are in there, right? Like it was honest, community. And music is playing in the background that's culturally appropriate. And then we go get dressed and go downtown.
That's why you stressing me out. Because now you make me realize where's that now?
So
where do we got that now?
No, there isn't that. Because even if you think about the analogy I was using of getting on 4 bars, the Derby put us on 4 bars, right? We were positive. So we went downtown and could handle some of the negativity, bouncers, the lack of music, jealous fellas that are mad that their girls are looking at you, whatever is going on. But if you don't have the Derby, if you don't have a place, and I'm not saying at your house, the Derby was you're allowed to leave your house and be in that space from a tavern point of view, that you could do that. The other thing that I have to shout out is the black basketball tournament, man. Yep. Like there's such a cultural hole in our community by not having that, right? Because you think about Victoria Day weekend, and it started when games started, B Division started on Wednesday, championships on Sunday. That was the car show, hair show, food, cooking, like that weekend was a serious homecoming. And so when we think about gentrification and the lack of the black tournament and all that, like our youth are going through a time when there's not a lot to do, brother. Sister, there's not a lot,
organized events and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's why we have to. That's why like there's a group of youth in particular. Your generation has to kind of do that because you might take for granted. I remember, when your dad played. Me and your dad are the same age.
He talks about it too, so confidently and like just great about that experience.
No, he could ball. So when he played at the All-Star team, grade 12, Paul was on it and I was on it. So there's a picture of me and the All-Star team. So, but I guess it was intergenerational. So when you guys were young and coming to think about St. Pat's Alexandra on a Saturday, a black tournament. Boy, I could have been 8 years old. And even when I was still playing at 28, right at that point, that was the most beautiful day in the neighborhood. In St. Pat's Alexander gym, packed, generations packed, and you got a game, Halifax or Uniac Square versus North Preston, and it's Biffy, and it's like you know what I mean, like really, like
I remember I was probably like 11, 12, 13 when I have like memories of them days.
Sugarloo,
oh shoot,
yeah, man, like I'm saying, and there are guys that didn't get to university who were black tournament all-stars, Bobby Smith. And so when we miss this, so if I can put it that way, I lived the black tournament every day in the Caribbean.
Wow, imagine that. Think about that. And like modern day, we have like Peace Tournament, and we got North Preston Day. We got was it Beachville Days?
Africville. Where people stay over.
And it's not just people from Africville that go there. It's people from all black communities. They go to Beachville Days. They go to Africville. They go to North Preston Day. And I think that's what keeps us. That's what brings us. Imagine having that feeling every day down in Jamaica. Like, what you're saying in Jamaica is like North Preston Day every day.
Every day.
Like, imagine that. Wow.
And really shout out to those festivals that still exist. I mean, the Peace Tournament in Novella, and shout out to the guys that
Corvell, Miranda.
That Miranda Kane, those guys that shifted and said, okay, we don't need to feel bad about the black tournament's not coming back, so let's try something different. I appreciate that. But even those spaces, culturally, if we're a 2% minority, we need Africville and we need North Preston Days and we need the Peace Tournament. We need those spaces that we make that become majority spaces in the way that, because we need that for our own, because everyone else does that. Every other culture does that. That's
and what's the one with Hammond's Plains? Not
Canada
I can't leave,
Day.
Yeah, I can't leave them folks out because all them places, growing up as a kid, we went to all them places.
Of course.
So it's like, we gotta keep it going.
More. Yeah, it makes me want to.
And make sure the youth are getting those spaces too, right? True. Like, because I think even when Africville happens and North Preston days, we still got to get our kids out of their rooms and make sure. And it's not that they don't want, but make a concerted effort and have a piece of those things that are for the youth.
Yeah.
Maybe a little dance or something like that. Like even they don't even, man, we couldn't wait for a dance. These kids don't need a dance because they think they can just text their way through everything. So we want to make these spaces for them so that they can have that feeling that I talk about. It's kind of sad. It almost brings a tear to my eye. It's just a feeling of comfort. It's simple. Every human being should have a comfort level. And I'm going to leave you with something that I found out about my dad. We always bring up the phrase civil rights. And you think about Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, civil rights movement is a very United States context. I will say that there were people in Nova Scotia, including my parents, Buddy Day, Reverend P. Oliver, Perline Oliver. There were people that were doing like equity work, right? So my dad passed away probably about 9 years ago, and I'm at the funeral. And Noel Knockwood and Danny Paul, who are both elders in the Mi'kmaq, Danny passed, but they're burning sweetgrass and sage over my dad's casket. And my dad did a lot of work with black and white people, indigenous people who were incarcerated. They're there. Homeless people are there. And it's just, and then I realized this light bulb came on and went, dang, so civil rights is the rights of civilians. Because as an English teacher, civil is a root word for civilian. So it's human rights. It's the rights of the civilian. So every civilian who lives in Nova Scotia, who pays taxes or their parents pay taxes, has the right as a civilian to wake up in the morning and walk outside and walk to the grocery store and get on the bus and go to school and go to the hospital and do all of these things and get treated like they're valued. That's civil rights, the rights of the civilian. Like that's what politicians are supposed to be working for us. They're like public servants. So civil rights, when we narrow it, we think it's about, Rosa Parks sitting at the back of the bus and Viola Desmond and all of that. It's not that. It's that we have to empower our children and empower our adults, that we have political power, that we have economic power, that we have community power, and that we have the right as civilians to, even if you're in the minority, we have the right to, we should have a full life from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. We know that that's not the way it is, but that's the way it should be when we talk the rights of civilians. And so that light bulb went on because that's what, people tried to stereotype my dad as this angry black man. Man, Dad hung out with white people and did at our house, it was United Nations, but it was better to demonize him and make him seem like, oh, he just likes black people. That's not it. But he didn't like inequity for anybody. It was the rights of civilians, civil rights, human rights. And that's where I think I am right now at the age I am. I'm 57 years old and I see similarities between the disabilities community, the LGBTQ plus community, the newcomer community, the African Nova Scotian community, or people of African descent community. I see that, it's not the oppression Olympics to see who's got it the hardest. It's a human rights thing. And if what just happened recently with government, part of it, they cut all kinds, not just black people's thing, they cut all kinds, right? And so with that, I think that I'm now seeing my parents taught me certain things, and there's a poet, Khalil Gibran. He wrote a poem called The Prophet. And one of the lines I like, and he says, God loves the bow just as much as the arrow. So the bow is your parents. The tension that you had in their life, right? Pulling back. But when they let go of it, you're supposed to go further. It's okay. Parents are okay with tension because when they let it go, you can go further. So you've gone further and you've gone further, right? What a beautiful thing. And so that's the thing right now is now we need to, the people that have been arrows now have to be bows. And make sure you're shooting kids forward and you're shooting your family forward and you're, right? And if we keep doing that, then there's some type of progress. And I think that's where I'm at right now is I see things differently than my parents. I have everything they gave me, but I think I see it holistically. Even that more than my dad, I own my male privilege more than my dad did. My dad was an OG. Some of the things he did, I don't do, right? And I love my dad, but it's a different generation. It's not 1975.
And you probably got to see some of the things that he did that may have held him back in terms of like whichever.
Yeah, and also hurt me as his oldest son.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a community guy, but know that when you're that community guy, you're not home a lot, right? So I would have liked him home a lot.
Yeah.
And there were certain ththings he was doing he was an OG thing that he could have been home.
Yeah.
But when they say running the roads, it wasn't. And I'm being honest, like that, because my dad was a great man. Don't get me wrong, but so I would say that the bow did go further because there's certain things. I was that smart little kid too, man. I just sit back and watch what's going on, and I could see what was right, and I knew that coming home and you got to give community some time, but you also have to be there, right? And so I have different perspectives around my role as a male. I have different perspectives in my role, as an able-bodied person. I remember being in the school system. I was the executive lead for inclusive education, and there were parents of autistic children and parents of children with disabilities that were coming in to talk around what their life was like. I was like, yeah, the African Nova Scotian kids aren't going through that. Like there's things around having an autistic child, no matter what race they are, and bringing them to school every day, and they've got to go to hospital, and like that is very complex, right? And so I think that because of the way my parents shot the bow, there's things that are on my mind that are more holistic and more like outside of the African Nova Scotian realm, outside of the criminal justice realm, because my mom worked in a law office as well. But I think that my thing is kind of outside of that, and seeing the full picture. And you guys know from my my little bit of social media presence is that full holistic look at things.
Yeah, and I think what you touched on with your realization at your dad's funeral was the civil rights.
Rights of civilians.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're touching on with the philosophy, because believing, or even not even believing, but thinking and having conscious thought about everybody.
Yes.
Not just, you know what I mean, understanding our circumstances as blacks, also understanding a youth that might have autism. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you can empathize others.
Yes, sir.
That's maybe maybe let the folks know, but empathize others.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that I came to a point, and that's a nice segue, Trev, because I was doing all these talks, and even during Black History Month, sometimes I didn't just want to talk about colonialism and slavery and all that. And so after a while, from a kind of like a mathematic analogy, I wanted to find a common denominator. So empathy, in my mind as an English teacher, and I love words, it means, can I take myself out of the center and put a trans person in the center? Can I take myself out of the center and put an Indigenous person in the center? Because what we often do is we think empathy is, I still filter it through my center and I try to feel what an Indigenous person feels, or a trans queer person feels, or a newcomer feels. No, that's not it. Empathizing others means you really have to decentralize yourself and put someone else in that. And I'll give you an example. So able-bodied privilege. I'm 57 years old. I never met a door, a staircase, an escalator, or an elevator that I couldn't use. I never even think about it. So empathizing others, and I take myself out of the center, there are many people in Halifax with disabilities that can't get upstairs, I remember I was at a professor's meeting, a staff meeting at St. FX, and one of the high-level PhD professors was not there. She's in a wheelchair. She had to text somebody 15 minutes later. She got stuck at the bottom of the steps and couldn't get, and the elevator wasn't working. And so I just thought about, man, if I empathize others, I'm just like, how frustrating would you're a PhD and you can't get to the meeting. And really, for 15 minutes, no one was really checking for her. But after a while, oh, where's she? And then we did. And so I think empathize others came for me as that common denominator of, what if there was one principle that could save the world? And I thought it's to empathize others, right? And you both been around me, and even when you didn't know that was my thing, think of the energy I gave you when you were around me. I empathized you. I didn't try to, and I did lots of things where I could get all egotistical about that. I don't do that. I empathize that you guys are in your space, and I honor the space you're in. That doesn't take nothing away from me. It also knows that I'm in learner mode all the time. I don't know what it is to be Indigenous. And so even for me, I become a better husband the more I own my own male privilege. Give an example. Whenever your wife comes home and she says how her day was, and men get in this loop of trying to solve it. Well, here, I think you should do. Man, shut up. Man, like, really, you don't need to do that. Where is that coming from?
Give them a little bit of game. They just got to listen. You listen.
Yes,
you
man.
know?
And then let it be. But because we're so used to over the generations of women being subservient to us, we think if we give them a little, just tell her, and then go get our beer and do our OG thing. But it's not there anymore. So empathizing others means if I put my wife in the center, I hear her better. If I put people in wheelchairs in the center, I hear them. When the Indigenous folks, I hear that community. We're on Turtle Island. This is Mi'kma'ki.
Yeah.
And when I hear Indigenous Mi'kmaq people talking about going onto their land to shut down their cannabis shops. Why are you so greedy? You already, through NSLC, have millions of dollars that you got to go there. Even out of repatriation, you can mind your business.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so much thing that you did to that community. Now you got to go into the community and shut down a little cannabis thing that people were doing, which is still a plant. And you put it in the guise of it's fentanyl, all this type of spin. Meanwhile, it's that same thing. It's like, so when I put them in the center, that grates me the wrong way. I'm not anti-government. It's not that. I'm an equity person. I'm a civil rights person.
Yeah.
So for me, I have a problem with that as far as historical trauma and colonialism and things that government has done that you're going to double down in 2026 and start raiding and do all that to even Trump. The same thing. I'm not really judging it, but some of the things that are going on are anti-human rights. And so that's so empathizing others means that I'm able to put people and shut up and listen and empty my cup. And if I empty my cup, people can pour things in it. Oftentimes, if your cup is full, someone's talking to you, you done got the answer already. So you didn't hear nothing they had to say because your cup is full. Empty your cup and empathize people. And that's what we don't do. We don't do that within our own community. We fight amongst ourselves for power and a little bit of crumbs because we can't empathize other people. And empathize just basically means feel them.
And there was one thing I wanted to touch on because you talked earlier about talking to a counselor, and I find like Black males or males in general, they're not open about talking about that stuff. How important do you find that was for you to have an outlet?
Incredibly important. 2 times I spoke to a counselor. One before I got married, so I get my game right. I went and went to talk to a counselor. And it's funny, man, this is a guy in Adigonish, and he actually started to talk to me about the little boy inside of me. And what that little boy, because that little boy still talks, and that little boy's hurt about certain things.
That's so true.
Cuz brought that to me. So I blew my mind, and so that again was, I started to see my male privilege. I started to see some of the ways I was behaving around my fiance. That was, I needed a counselor to tell me, and I'm going to circle back to that. And then, recently there's an African Nova Scotian woman, I'd love to shout her out, but I'm not, who does a fantastic job. And here's what I would tell people about counselors. They are paid to listen to your problems. And they have the expertise to give you a professional perspective on that. Don't unload on your family. Don't unload on your spouse. Don't unload on your children. They don't have the expertise to deal with the hurt and the pain and the confusion that you have. There's one place that you can go, and also it's private. There's a privacy built-in confidentiality thing. So when you go and talk to this person, they're listening to you. They're professional listeners. And you tell them something, and I found every counselor I went to heard me, thought about it, and then they went back to their schoolism and their psychology and all that, and then they spit back to me a tool, a learning, a something I can use so that that negative feeling, if I had not gone to them, my wife can't give me that tool. My best friend over beers can't give me that tool. My son can't give me that tool. But when I went to counselors, they are professionals around privacy, confidentiality, listening to your problems, filtering that problem, and giving you, here, you should try this book or try this meditation or whatever. And every time I leave, I've got a tool that I can put in my basket just so I can be a better human being.
I think what you really hit on with that, because a lot of this conversation has been about education and continuing to grow, is the counselors are educators.
They are.
And they're giving you the expert, they're giving you the tool based on what they see as the issue or whatever you're dealing with. And I think that is the thing that folks have to get away from versus like, oh, I'm talking to someone, I might be weak because I'm telling someone my problems. But it's more than that. It's you're talking to someone that's an expert that can help solve the problem that you're going through versus you telling your wife about all your problems that you're going through and your friends or your kids, and then they're bearing the weight, but they don't have a solution for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's important of what you just said.
Yes.
Because now you make me realize like, hey, I be talking to my bros about my issues. I never put it on my girl, but then it's like in terms of this is a tool that I'm going to utilize. I'm going to go talk to somebody.
Yeah. And talking to your, I think there's a lower level where that bell, let's talk. We should talk to people. But the counselor is so it's funny how we upgrade our phones and we go and we lift our body and we do, like men are like that. We'll put all kinds of time in the gym, but our hearts and our minds, man, we don't spend no time thinking about our heart. And so if we grew up as black boys, little black boys, and then teenagers, and then we became 18, 19, and we think we're all that. There's so much hurt and pain.
Stuff that you brush under the rug or that you try to hide, and then it manifests in different areas of your life.
True.
And so if you want to unload that, same way you have to take certain things to the dump, you don't just dump stuff on the side of the road. You go to the dump, you pay your money. This is here's a stove, and you put it in the right thing, and then you go back and don't have the same thing. It's cleansing yourself and getting that junk out. And the person you're sitting with who's a counselor, they collect junk. That's what they do.
They're a professional shredder.
Shred that. And you will feel lighter. And also the beauty of it is now you can go back to your family, because then when I use those tools, I don't need to tell them I got the tool, I'm just arguing less. And I'm less irritable.
They're like, why dad just like lighter? Dad different.
Because you got shredded. You got like that's so that's what happens. So I would say when it's men's mental wellness and for women over time, I think they've got an innate ability to do some of that. But women also have self-care, but they're better at it than us because we're just the grunt. We're hunters.
Because if you got like 5 guys that's trying to hide something and they talking to each other, they not being as real as and open. And I find women through history, like they talk all the time. Like their emotional intelligence
is high.
On average is higher than the men.
But they still need counselors.
You
do.
And I'm so glad you say that as well, because something that comes to mind. I'm so glad thank you for being vulnerable and sharing this stuff, because I think it's really important for people to know that. Because with counselors and with therapy, they're, like you said, they're educators. They're also listeners, and they help you understand yourself. And like you said, that little boy, they help you understand the things that you're not even thinking about that are affecting the way you operate in life. And like you said, they're also giving the tools and the strategies to approach it, because it's one, like you said, Belle, let's talk, everyone to kind of express and always be comfortable and open with those that you love and the people that you trust. But it's a whole nother to also come with a solution to the problems that you're saying, because, because that can really be, can weigh on yourself, and it can affect you in ways that you wouldn't see it manifest.
It can make things worse if you're dumping everything on your family.
And you're not,
versus like if you go to someone and you talk to them, they're like, oh, this is this. They're, like you said, putting it through their expert lens. And then now you can deal with or express yourself better with your family.
So think about domestic violence.
Yeah, bro.
Where do you think that comes from? You're unloading, instead of you dealing with your that anger, that thing that has nothing to do with your woman really. But or your children, but you bring it out on them because the pot boils over. And so again, it's important that you get that time and take care of yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely. I just got a full-time job with benefits. I'm going to use my benefits. I'm going to talk to somebody right quick and be like, yeah, what's going on? And I like you said, to me, it's not a thing of like feeling weak. It's a thing of like, I'm going to get this, like, you go to the gym, like you said, you go for a massage, like, can I get my mind and my heart massage too? Like, you know, and that's it's gonna cleanse it.
Speaking of the heart and like the head and the heart and stuff like that and the physical, there's a Indigenous health wellness framework where they talk about your spiritual health, your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health. And ever since I learned that in one of the classes, it's really changed my perspective of the way that I look at wellness. Because a lot of times, like you said, we go to work out, we think like physical, okay, we're in good well-being, but it's like, no, if you're not right here,
In your spirit.
in your spirit with the emotions and the relationships you have around you, you're not fully there with wellness. And it's a journey, the same way learning is an ongoing thing that you would be experiencing, healing, learning yourself, finding solutions. It's all a journey, but the only way to keep yourself going on that journey is to recognize that and to work on it.
Of course.
And to be open to learning.
And when you talk about lifelong learning, I've come to know that it starts with me knowing myself. Because we go through this thing, whether it's church or whatever, that it's serving other people. I use the thing now, like in the airplane, when the mask comes down, you got to put your mask on first before you can help anyone else. So it was almost like self-care was weak, especially to men. Like mental wellness and self-care was like, man, I don't like, but yet you can't care for other people. You don't have the capacity to do that if you don't start to know yourself. What are your triggers? What's some of the things that's why you said the little boy had certain things like abandonment and stuff that triggered me as an adult. And it started when I was a kid. So if you don't get self-knowledge, when we say lifelong learning, we're almost out there learning all this curriculum from outside. But the number one thing you need to learn is you need to learn about yourself.
The introspection, learning yourself, checking your blind spots, because we can't see our blind spots. We often need someone else to look at our blind spots. And if you're not, like, let's say if I say to Aaliyah, like, oh, can you tell me some of my blind spots? But she knows that maybe I'm a type of person that, like, she's going to tell me about myself, and then it's going to manifest in other things to attack her back. But that's how people be. That's how people be. Like, oh, can you be real with me?
And then it's like, then they're mad.
Like I'm like, bruh, like, you asked me for the feedback. Like, now you mad with me. And they'll be mad with you about something else. So it's like, I think it's important to do that.
Another thing too, just to add and a plug, earlier in the conversation when you mentioned the privilege and stuff like that, if y'all have not already looked at it, go look at the Wheel of Privilege. Obviously, there's some things that can be edited and added to that ongoing, but go look at some of those privileges and kind of reflect on yourself.
Duckworth.
Yes.
Sylvia Duckworth. I use that a lot, Leah. I'm glad
it helps you
brought it up.
decentralize yourself with being empathetic and stuff. So definitely something if you want to do the empathy. That's a good start.
You learned something. You guys dropping gems out here. So is there anything that we didn't talk about that you may have wanted to touch on?
Yeah, no, we talked. I really appreciate the both of you, you know, and shout out to Rodney, you know, and that type of, you know, Rodney Small is a guy that is community to the bone, right? And so I respect that, and that's how I came up with my parents. Like, I can't not do anything. I don't think I ever had a job. If I say teaching is community, then I've never had a job that wasn't a community job. Like, I never just sold widgets or whatever. It was always something to do with community. So I would say that, and I would say, you know, the last thing I'd say to people real serious is you gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. We can't get together as a community if there's not self-love. And so as African Nova Scotians, as people who have African descent who are living in Nova Scotia, whether it's 20, 30 years, if you're from, you know, the Caribbean, you're African, if you're Palestinian, if you're Arabic, like, that self-love is something we're almost like, it's controversial to say it, but in 2026, it's the starting point. Because if I love myself, I find the more I do that, the less angry I am at other people. Like, because I have the capacity now to go out and go in that world and fight my thing. So empathizing others is still a part of, it's another ripple of self-love. It starts with self-love. And then once you have self-love, you can be empathetic. But if you have self-hate, you just exert that hate on people within your community, within your family. You do that. So healing yourself is really important. And so when we talk, I know the theme was education. Let me just say that self-education is where you start. How well do you know yourself? You know, we have Ancestry.com and all this where you could research yourself. But in the quiet hours, spend some time trying to figure out who you are, because that's going to help you at work. That's going to help you with your kids. That's going to help you in community. Otherwise, you just keep getting triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered all over the place. If you want to stop getting triggered, start to find out about yourself, research where those triggers are coming from, love yourself more, forgive yourself more, and then you'll find that there's more wellness in your life.
Know thyself.
Yeah.
Could I ask you one more question, just from like earlier on in the conversation, burning question that I had? Is you had mentioned when you were in spaces, the way you move with integrity and the way you're able to challenge perspectives or to actually give your honest perspective.
Yes.
As well as just like any like advice that you have to people to kind of bring themselves into that space. Because sometimes when you're like the one person in a room, it might be more intimidating to be like, hey, like, no, I don't agree with that or whatever it may be. So what advice would you give to someone to be able to tap into that part of themselves? And
I think that's a great question. I would say don't take meetings lightly. Be prepared. So if you know that you're going to a meeting that might be spicy or that you may have to advocate, don't go in without thinking. So a lot of times you need to have data to back. You can't go in, if I can rephrase it, don't be emotional. So when I do it, when I go in and if I know that I will look up the data, back up my point, and I'm going to at the right time make that point on behalf of community. That's the 50% of it. The other 50% is don't be mad if it doesn't go your way. Right? I mean, I know Augy Jones said to me, Augie, you're going to get fired from a lot of jobs. Like if you take that approach, and it's not right away, it's not an emotional thing, but if you are advocating for a minority community, and when you're sitting around the table, no one else from that community is there, oftentimes, and this has been my work over the last 20 years, they don't understand. So they take your advocacy as anger and you're misinformed, or even more so that you're not pulling the company line. Like just be quiet and follow. Well, I'm not here for that. So I think I do it in a very intelligent, researched, non-emotional way. If it leads to me being fired, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because integrity is what you do when no one's looking. And so and I have to live with myself. And there's lots of jobs out there, people. Like there's not one job that I have to cling to, like I can never leave that job. So I just know that's what I learned from my parents and it's funny because everyone talks about Augy Jones, but Joan Jones was better at this. And people that know my mom, when she was in committees, she was a pit bull. Like, she never played. She didn't care if people liked her. She didn't what are we here for? We're talking about policing? Okay, let's get to it. Like, let's not. And so her approach rubbed people the wrong way. I think she was definitely more intense than I am. But what I did learn from being at our house and seeing the amount of dignitaries and politicians and people come through is that it's okay to step into a tense moment. It's okay to shake things up. It's okay to say things that people don't like. It is the way you say it. And is it researched? Is it intelligent? Does it have some backative? If it has that, say it. And if people are mad, they're mad. I don't because you have to say that because change is something that is full of tension. So even when a plant comes up through the ground and grows, there's a tension when it breaks through and then it grows and buds come out. That's all tension. So beautiful things come from tension. So if you are in a minority or you are in you're talking on behalf of marginalized people in any setting, do not be afraid of conflict because growth begets conflict. Conflict has to happen for growth to happen. So I know sometimes God put me in rooms to get fired. Put me there to say something that someone's going to say, okay, yeah, thank you for that. You got to go. Okay. But you can't unhear me.
Yep. That impact's still there.
You heard me. Because if you didn't hear me, you wouldn't have fired me. So but I've been like that, in many situations, and it's not a self-righteousness. It's integrity.
And I think you touched on the point where we need conflict in order to progress. Like in order for things to happen. Like I just did a training course and they were talking about how 80% of people are conflict avoidant. So if everybody in the world, like if most people in the world are conflict avoidant, it's like if just a few more percentage, then more things would get done, more things would happen, because it needs to happen for change to happen. It needs to happen for progress to happen. If we're all avoiding conversation or we're avoiding conflict, then we're not growing. We're not becoming better. We're not able to like make a motion, make a move.
And you're right on, Trevor. And think about this too: is that when you are avoiding, so let's say you go to that same committee meeting, and to your question, Aaliyah, is that if you avoid it, you take it home with you.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yes.
So that's it. You're avoiding it at that table, but you're going to go somewhere somehow, and then this, and you're going to talk behind the back. So from a wellness point of view, get that off your chest.
Right?
Because the more you face your fears or you face the conflict, you get through the conflict, you better the environment, you better the situation. And then if everybody is, like, we're not going to blow up and then everything is just conflict, but you get through the conflict. And it's not that, a conflict avoidance doesn't mean, or facing the conflict doesn't mean that you can't solve the conflict.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like face it, because the more you face it, the better you come out on the back end, because the better you become. Like, let's say I'm conflict avoidant and you two aren't. Let's say me and you are both conflict avoidant and she's not. Yes. Then she gets you to not be conflict avoidant. Then you guys get me not to be conflict. And then we just continuously talk through our conflict, get revolved,
and find solutions.
Find solutions. That's the whole point of getting through it. And if we all just avoid it, then how are we getting anything done? How are we getting to get real, true progress that's equitable or beneficial to everybody?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Namaste.
Does that bring us to the end of the episode?
Yeah, I think so.
So One North End, you already know, pun intended. So the one word checkout is basically one word. We typically do it every week after our team meetings, and it's one word to describe how you feel, how this episode made you feel, how the day made you feel, how the week's making you feel, but why you chose that word we also want to hear. And we all have to do it. You're not just the only one on the spot.
Yeah. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the space and the media production that's here. Totally 100% professional, and what a great space. I'm grateful for you two young adults. You know, I have a lot of respect for both of you, right, in what you do. And, I think that I'm grateful just to be on the earth. I mean, that's kind of crazy, man, but when I wake up every day, I'm grateful that I got another day. Because Wade Smith doesn't have another day, man. I got a lot of friends that are very close to me. So if I got another day to be able to do some of the work that needs to be done, I'm very grateful for that.
You got one, or you want me to? Got two in my pocket right now.
I don't have a word. I'm trying to think of like the feeling that like you were describing earlier, but like being down south and just like. I want to say freedom, so I guess I'll say freedom. Like going, like I feel this conversation was freeing. We talked a lot about education, our journey, conflict, growth. I think that, to me, in order to be free, you have to face your fears. You have to face the conflicts. You have to face yourself. So for me, I'm just gonna say freedom is my word, and I feel like we should all be working towards freedom, and not just freedom for ourselves, but freedom for others, and not just like we were talking about earlier, but not just freedom for Black folks, but freedom for all folks.
Of course, civilians.
Yeah, civil rights. Grateful, freedom. My word, I think it's going to be openness. I feel like a theme that kind of stood out to me in all different parts of this conversation would have been openness. Openness to self-reflection, openness to growth, to learning, openness to putting yourself outside of your own shoes to look at someone else's circumstances, and openness to move with integrity and to follow your values and stuff too. So yeah, definitely feeling open. Integrity was that second one. It was a second contender for that word, but yeah, definitely staying open.
I feel like integrity is important. I read someone said the other day who was like, you can fake it till you make it, but if you never make it, then you just live the fake life. And I was like, oh yeah, that's fire. Cool.
Thank you both.
Thank you. So I know you told us you appreciate it and you gave the gratefulness, but we're grateful to have you as well on this episode. It was an amazing episode, a lot of really good conversation, a lot of things that I've learned, and I would assume that you would have learned as well. So thank you for joining us and taking the time. I hope you all learned a lot. How would they be able to reach you for the consulting with the empathize?
Yeah, there's two. So empathizeothers.com has now become more of the umbrella. And then if you go to augyjones.com, that's more the public speaking. I've kind of, as I've started to become more entrepreneurial, I kind of split that up into podcast and clothing is Empathize Others. And then augyjones.com is, keynote speaking, working one-on-one with teachers, working with organizations on leadership, and my main plug is relational leadership. If you want to do better with people of African descent, get to know us.
Yeah.
If you want to do better with Mi'kmaq people, get to know them. If you want to be better with the disabilities community, get to know them. It's relational, right? And so that's so Empathize Others, and then on the Augy Jones side, it's relational leadership.
Yeah, and you just did a keynote speaking on the weekend. How did that go? How was that for you?
It went well. It was one of those things where I from working with 902 Man Up and their 10th anniversary, we had something that we wanted to say, and from talking to Marcus and Peter and Ken Fells and Tunde, I knew what I wanted to say. It was heavy. It landed. It wasn't like it was a standing ovation,
Yeah.
But I think that people understood where I was coming from based on the political atmosphere now. And basically, I brought up the term common unity. And if you take the O-N out of it, it says community. But common unity is we got to work together.
Yeah.
And I just brought up the fact that in the 80s and 70s, we had 5 or 6 organizations. 2026, we got over 30-something organizations that don't work together.
Wow.
And crazy. So... I think that we got to start to collaborate. And part of it is, last thing I'd say about it is, based on the political atmosphere, it was grants.
Yeah.
We argue over grants. We talk about each other and we compete over grant money, which I would say is just another form of social assistance.
Yeah.
Right? So really think about that. And there's more power in collaborating.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've got 5 or 6 groups in your community, why don't you work together on one proposal, not for a grant, but for funding. Grants and funding are not the same thing. And so that's what I spoke about on the weekend. And I think people heard it, but it was a heavy keynote.
It makes sense why it might not have landed with everyone, because there's people still stuck in the mindset of like not collaborating.
I'm about my group.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that if we're a community, we need to be collaborating. Like
common unity.
Yes. Like how can we all excel? How can we all progress if we're all just like, it's kind of like the divide and conquer type of vibe.
It is.
And then we don't, as a whole collective, like pockets are probably making it places, but the whole collective can't rise up because it's not them any legs.
If we're divided like that, they can cut the funding to the whole collective, which is what happened. They cut not funding, but the grant.
Yeah.
Like if you're separate, then separately, I'm going to cut you all off, right? But I think, and I landed off with the Kenyan proverb that you can break one stick, but you can't break a bundle of sticks.
And that literally before you said that, that's what I was thinking. It's a bunch of toothpicks and is holding up something versus like a bunch of tree trunks that are like, when you say 5 big organizations or something like that getting funding, then you can't knock it over. But like you said, a little stick, you can just break it.
Yeah.
Well, y'all already know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share that with a friend, comment your one-word checkout. Tell us why you chose that word. Make sure you listen to us on wherever you listen to your podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. I think I got a good pretty number.
Thank you, Augy, so much for coming on in short notice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother. And
thank you both.
We appreciate you.
Keep going.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to our Feature Friday podcast. And just wanted to make sure that you guys are connected on all platforms. So wherever you're tuning in, maybe even leave us a 5-star review.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe.
And on our social medias as well, you can follow us at ANS Lab or at African Nova Scotian Youth Lab as well on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got the whole mumble jumble. It'll be in our link tree in our bio.
Don't forget to enter our contest that we have in each episode.
And the way to enter that contest will be sprinkled throughout our episodes, so make sure that you're listening and paying attention.
Each episode may be different, but comment below wherever you are.
And if you don't use social media and you're one of those people, you can even reach out to us by email at anslab@onenorthend.com.
The details are in the episode description.
And last but not least, we want to make sure that we get you guys connected to our resource, our network of resources, the Grapevine newsletters. So to get subscribed, you can check the link in our bio and subscribe yourself. But if you're not that tech savvy, you can also email us at anslab@onenorthend.com and we can get you hooked up.
We'll see you on the next episode.
See you next month.
Let's get it.
Feature Friday.
What's your favorite thing about Fridays?
That's a good question.
The features.